What's up, everyone? All right, well, today is my birthday, and I am down $275,000. It's the worst day I've ever had, basically times 3. I can't, it's ridiculous. I hardly even know what to say other than this is so stupid. Even after doing this for as long as I've been trading, I still underestimate the power of emotions. A day like today, which, any other day I probably would have walked away a lot sooner. But, today, being my birthday, I want to finish green and feel good about myself. And I was up nicely on the day. I then kind of, I was chasing that big green day and went for that next big trade and boom, back to break even. Jumped in another stock real quick, was down 30 grand, jumped in 2 others at the same time. That's a mistake. And, well, one of them went up, the other one way down, and I screwed up both of them. So we're gonna talk about those trades. We'll do a little bit of a recap where I actually show you those trades, but probably more importantly, what I'm gonna be talking about is the path ahead. There's nowhere to go but forward. All I can do is make a game plan of how I'm gonna dig myself out of this hole. It's not fun. I am grateful that I made about $900,000 last week, and I'm in a position where if I was ever gonna take a huge loss like this is probably the best time it could happen. So I'm gonna try to be positive in my perspective, and rather than be doom and gloom and just super sad, and cry, I'm just gonna try to, rally ahead. And I think that what you're gonna get a glimpse at is sort of the trader mindset that allows me to continually get back on the horse. Yeah, I get knocked off the horse. Today, was it particularly bad? Yes, no doubt about it. But I've had a lot of bad days in my career, as any trader will. And being successful long term requires resilience to be willing to get back up and try again. So I'm gonna get back up and try again. It's the only way forward. I need to put this big red day in the rearview mirror, but not without first talking about it, understanding why it happened, what I can do to prevent it from happening again, and creating a game plan of how I'm gonna start to rebound and not let the losses capitulate and roll into, a huge drawdown over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. I need to stop the bleeding here today and begin the process of rebuilding tomorrow. A video episode like this is a tough one to do because it's emotional. This is a terrible day for me. It's a birthday I'll always remember. It would be just probably easier to sweep this under the carpet, pretend it never happened, and just, you guys know I made 900 grand last week and just leave it at that. But that's not how we roll. I show you my green days, I show you my red days. My broker statements are on the website. So while it's fun to celebrate the big green days, and I love having those, and I love chasing those big winners, days like today are equally, if not more important to talk about, because this is the reality of trading. The ups and the downs. And what I'm going through is the natural human response that probably anyone else would experience as a trader, certainly trading on this level where the big green days are so big and then the big red days are also so big. It brings out the emotions in a pretty serious way. So I hope you guys please hit that thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, I hope you subscribe to the channel. Transparency is important for me, and that's one of the reasons I do these videos on the green days and the red days. So a thumbs up is not a vote for you're happy I lost money, it's a vote for the transparency and the honesty of doing this video. If you are happy I lost money, well, you can still hit the thumbs up, but it's really a vote for coming out here and talking about something that's really hard, is not fun. One of the big challenges that I have with trading is that I'm doing it in front of such an audience that my wins, are celebrated, but my losses are so out there, and that's tough. And it creates more pressure. Of course, now the pressure to rebuild in a really good way is even higher, because if I don't, then it just makes me look worse and it's embarrassing. So there's a lot of pressure with this role, and that's why I think a lot of people that would be in a role like this would just prefer to not be as transparent and not talk maybe as much about the winners or the losers, because that sort of protects them a little bit. And so I understand that, but I've decided to do it a little differently. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna get into the recap here. I'm gonna run the intro and then we're gonna start breaking down my worst day of my entire career. All right, let's do it. Well, we might as well do a red day recap here. It's my birthday, and I'm sitting down $274,000. It's the biggest red day I've ever had. What a mess. Well, CPSH got me the worst, but today things fell apart kind of quickly. So I started the day on AACG with some decent trades here pre-market on this. It was pretty strong. I mean, it really was pretty strong. It was our leading gapper in the entire market. It was a nice looking stock. It was moving higher. The problem that I had with it was there was no news. But it did end up still making a pretty big move. I'm actually red on it by 5,000, and that's upsetting because I was green about $27,000 on the day. What happened on this one was I was up, like 8,000 or so pre-market. I don't really remember how much I was up. The bell rang and it surges up to 4, and I jumped in for the breakthrough 4 and rode the momentum up here to 480. Got green on it, was up about 30,000, 27,000. It does a pullback here. I added right here in this candle for the break of 5. I want to say maybe 50,000 shares. And it hit a high of 490 and then flushed down. I stopped out, gave back everything I made, and was up only $2,000 on the day. Maybe that would have been the time to stop. I then switched over to AVXL, because at the time, CPSH had just squeezed up and gotten halted, and AVXL was ripping up as well. I got in it right here at $25. I bought 15,000 shares, and it dropped right here, and I stopped out with a $30,000 loss, and just like that, I was down, $30,000 on the day. So that was disappointing. I did make a little bit back as it popped back up here, but not a lot. Then I had a trade on WAFU. I jumped in this for the break of 9 right here, lost $3,000 on that. Not a big deal. And then CPSH resumes from its halt. It halts up. It then halts coming down. It resumes from the halt coming down, and I got long down here at like $26. Whatever. It starts to squeeze up, and I added for the breakthrough 30. Now the problem was at that moment I was already in ANVS. I bought ANVS going into this halt right here at like 30.75. So I jumped into it as it was squeezing up, and that was a pretty aggressive trade. But this is a stock that was also moving higher, kind of like AVXL, and also kind of like CPSH. But it has a lower float. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. So I went ahead and jumped in it. Anyways, it halts going up. I'm holding during the halt. So I'm in that one while it's halted. And that stock, it's kind of weird. So that stock was at the top of my P&L here, as you can see. I guess at the moment it was the only one that I had a profit on. So I switched to CPSH. I'm holding ANVS halted. I switched to CPSH, and I see it squeezing up, and I started hammering the buy button right here. I only had small size going into this halt. On resumption, and I'll do the 10-second chart, on resumption, I started just hammering that buy button, and I didn't really think I was getting filled. I was like, what's going on? I'm pressing the buy button.
I'm focusing on this, but I'm not seeing myself getting filled. And I thought maybe there was an issue with my hotkeys. I wasn't really sure what was going on. Well, I was looking at the ANVS position, and I just wasn't seeing the CPSH position. As it turned out, I did fill 42,000 shares long at 29.21. I realized that sort of the moment it was tapping 30, and I was like, what is going on? And I looked over and I was like, oh my God. Okay, let's see if it breaks through 30. If it breaks through 30 and we squeeze up to 31, 32, it's going to end up being an awesome trade. So, all right, well, that's not what I was expecting, but let's see what happens. And then it flashes down to 28 and I'm down 40 grand. It flashes down here to 27, I'm down 80 grand. And now ANVS is resuming, and I'm like, okay, well, let me try to manage the winner. CPSH, I'm in way deep on it, but let's just let it do a 1 minute pullback. Let's give it a second, and if it curls over 30, I'll be fine. So let me just focus on managing the winner right now. So I focus on this one. It pops up to 34. I'm putting out orders to sell, but I'm not seeing anything filling again. The problem there was that my active orders window was filled with all my CPSH orders, because I put CPSH orders out to sell if it came back up to 29 to break even. I was like, you know what? If it gets back to break even, just unwind it. So I put all those orders out there. So my orders were stacked. So just for instance, if I do a test stock ZVZZT, and well, I can't, I'm below my max loss, so I can't actually trade it. Anyway, so let's just pretend. So this is stacked with sell orders, or with orders. So anyways, my orders on ANVS, they're not going through. And, for all I know, I might have put out an order to sell, I may have put out an order to sell the whole position, and then my other orders weren't executing, and so I'm like, what's going on? So I'm fumbling with ANVS, and then I look over and CPSH, is just dropping. It's now broken back below. I'll just do it like this. It's broken back below the low here, and it's halted going down at 25, and I'm down 150 grand. Biggest loss I've ever had. So I'm like, all right, let's focus on ANVS. ANVS here starts dipping, and I try to sell it, and I end up selling it for $2,000 of profit. I was up on it, and then it came all the way back down to basically nothing. And then when CPSH resumed, I said, all right, stops at 24. That's the volume weighted average price. And I was hitting the bid and unwinding it as it broke 24 for a $240,000 loss. So, 40,000 shares times 5 points, it's stupid. It's really, really, really unfortunate. This equity curve here, I was sitting at 800,000 on the year. Just knocked that down to 500. I mean, what an embarrassment. Honestly, I feel like just taking the rest of the month off. Right now, in this moment, I feel like taking the rest of the year off. I just feel like being done. All right, that's it. I made 500 grand this year. I'll come back in January next year. That's how I feel. That's how I feel right now, because this is just so this is sort of the fight or flight response. After such a big loss, such a painful loss, the initial instinct perhaps to fight and try to make it back, maybe, but right now it's more of just run away from it, right? And that's kind of, those are your two paths for the most part with handling it, with responding to a big loss. When you have a really big loss, you either try to fight back and revenge trade, which is an emotional response, or you just kind of run away and you're just like, I'm done for a bit. But this is such a, listen, I lost $95,000 on Monday. I made back a little bit on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I was up $30,000 today. I was up $30,000 before I gave it all back on AACG, and then jumped into ANVX or AVXL for 25, and it was a huge seller, and then dropped down $4 a share and then ripped back up. So, I could have just held the whole AVXL position, right? Didn't break the VWAP. Could have just held it, gotten back out of that flat. But I would have had to hold that one down 4 points, 15,000 shares. I would have been down $60,000, which, is not the right move. I should always cut losses. CPSH, unfortunately, through a combination of mishaps, things went wrong. I would say, where did things kind of go off the rails today? Things went off the rails. I mean, I guess my trigger was on AACG when I went from being up 27,000 to losing that all and going back to break even on that false breakout and that drop right there. That was my trigger. Immediately following that, I FOMO'd into AVXL to try to recoup those losses real quick and lost 30 grand. And then after that, I FOMO'd into WAFU, which, it wasn't, but it just didn't work. Lost 3 grand on that. And then I had a couple small trades on AMVXL, made back a teeny bit, but it wasn't anything significant. And then then ANVS, I jumped into that with big size going into the halt. So I was aggressive on that one, and my orders weren't filling very well. And anyways, I was in that on a sort of FOMO entry. Now, I ended up having the right move on it. It went from 31 up to 35. But I also had the trade on CPSH, which was a disaster. Now, this was, it's tough because, that setup there, the breakthrough 29, typically I do like that kind of setup. It's actually not that much different from what AVXL did, a break through the highs. And it's just my luck that this one didn't rip to 35. If that ripped to 35, I'd be up 100 grand today. And yes, it would have still been the result of some FOMO trades and poor risk management and a mistake on my share size, but it would have been a fabulous trade. It just didn't work. The problem was my risk was way too high, and in fact, it was much higher than I even realized. And that was because I was in 2 trades at once, which I almost never do. One of the reasons that I talk about being really careful with trading multiple stocks at once is your distraction, your focus is split in half. So, this is a perfect example of where that goes wrong. And today was a day where I was chasing, and I'm super disappointed. I'm super disappointed in myself. This is a terrible day. This is just absolutely horrendous. I can't believe it. I really can't believe I messed up that bad today. But I'm going to go through the grieving process. I'm in denial. I can't believe it. It's going to, unfortunately, man, I've just destroyed this month. It's February 4th. It's my dang birthday, and I've destroyed this month. I've ruined my day. I've ruined the entire month. What's even the point of trying to make it back? What's even the point? I've just so badly screwed up this month. I was down 94,000, made back 40, and now I'm down 270. I'm down over $300,000 on the month. That's, if I made $300,000 this month, this would have been a terrific month to the green side. I've got to make $300,000 just to get back to flat. I don't know. It's going to take a lot of compartmentalizing to kind of put this loss on an island, let it live there, let it be there, fully accept that it is there, and focus on trading the next few weeks based truly on what's right in front of me, and not trying to keep, because now that I've got this big loss, I'm going to try to keep making it back. So, the glass is no doubt half full. I'm very, very fortunate to be in a position where I could suffer that big of a loss and still look at my P&L on the year. And even after, yes, this is going to be a terrible drop, I'm still up 500 grand. Still made $900,000 last week. So, will I bounce back? Yeah, I will. Of course I will. I always do. But, That's a tough pill to swallow. There's no doubt about that. Boy. Very small, kind of momentary window with lapse of judgment and a few just kind of share size mistakes, which I shouldn't be making at this point in my career, but I was overwhelmed. I think in the moment, what was happening with being down 30,000 on the day and FOMOing into that ANVS trade with big size, I kind of was going into like tunnel vision, and all of a sudden, when you're in that state of sort of heightened adrenaline, that's where it can be hard to. It's just hard to process everything at once. So, the best way to avoid that is to trade within levels that are not going to trigger you to get into that emotional state. So, I don't know what else there is to say about today. This was a disaster. And I would say, no doubt, I feel far worse today than I felt good last week on the day I made $478,000. Something I was thinking about a little bit yesterday is how the red days feel so much worse than the green days feel good. And I'm not happy about that, because it kind of means that my life is on this emotional continuum of, just for reference, I see I'm kind of dark here, but this emotional continuum of like, green day, I feel like moderately happy. Red day, I feel terrible. Small green day, I feel moderately happy. A day like today, I'm like off the chart red. A day where I'm up 400, I'm like up here, and then a day I'm down 200, I'm down here. The feeling of being down 200 is exponentially more painful than the joy of being up 400. It's just a very interesting emotional battle. So this is the very real. I think everything that I'm experiencing right now. I don't know why it's so dark. I'm sorry about that, but I think everything that I'm experiencing right now is the very real human emotional battle of trading the markets. Because trading is inevitably an experience of winning and losing. You can look at, and I'm a guy who made $5 million last year. I'm up 500 grand this year, and I feel like garbage right now. I currently, at this very moment, feel like the lowest in my trading that I've almost like ever felt. So I feel the same way as probably Tom Brady, getting sacked on that pass that could have won the Super Bowl. It's just such a feeling of defeat. It's a horrible feeling. And yeah, Tom Brady, dude, you're a millionaire. You've got the life. You've got a healthy family. You've got, everything you could possibly want. But in those moments, no doubt he feels it's a terrible feeling to lose the Super Bowl, especially if you feel like it's the result of a mistake or something like that. And so the feeling of loss here is no different. And I suppose maybe the struggle of being a professional athlete is a similar one, where it's just that emotional struggle of, oh my God, I'm constantly chasing those winning games, and the feeling of the joy that comes with, getting to the finals or getting to the Super Bowl or whatever it is, whatever sport you're playing. And then it starts all over again the next year. So I suppose the question is, do you love the chase? And with trading, one of the whole things with warrior trading and being a day trade warrior is that I've really believed that you have to be a little crazy. You have to be a warrior. You're battling the market every day. And today I battled and I lost bigger than I've ever lost before. But even through talking about it here, this is probably the best thing I can do, because it helps sort of, process the emotions, come to some sort of I have to live with this. I'm not going to go kill myself. There's no choice. I have to live with this. I love my life. I'm going to live with this. And so then the question is, since this has now happened, I either choose to live with it with deep regret and a lot of pain, or I find a way to change the perspective. Well, you hear about people who have horrible life experiences, who live in horrible conditions, and they find a way to find happiness. And so that's something that ultimately, through a loss, however big it is, whatever it is, that we have to find. And perhaps there is a way to gain some level of perspective where in these types of losses, I don't maybe get so upset with myself. I'm able to just say, hey, it's a cost of doing business. But that's not my initial reaction. My initial reaction is extreme disappointment in myself. My job is to come in every day and make money, and so this is a day where I've come in and completely failed. And but you know what? If I contrast the way I'm feeling right now to the way I was feeling about a month ago, if we go back to, let's just go back to January 1st of 2020. I was feeling pretty stressed out there because at that point I was red on the year. I was red over 100,000 on the year, and I was like, dude, this is unacceptable. It's fine to have a red month, and that's okay. If I ended up at some point having a red year, it doesn't change, obviously the fact that I've turned $583 into over $5 million, but it would be disappointing. And it's certainly something that I hope doesn't happen. So, that pressure at the beginning of the year, that I went into the red, not just on the month, but on the entire year, that for me was really difficult. And the pressure is definitely compounded by the fact that I'm doing so much of this publicly. So it's a public, my success is public, my failures are public. And it's okay to have, red days. This day, which is the worst red day I've ever had, it's okay to have this red day, and it will be great for you guys to come back and rewatch this recap and everything else. But they're okay when they're sprinkled in between lots of green days like last week. If it was just a month where I was red every day, or 5 red months in a row, that's where it would certainly start to become very demoralizing and defeating to come in here every day and talk about it. So today, all things considered, I actually feel a heck of a lot better right now than I felt after the red day when I knocked myself to down 150,000 on the year. So there's a little perspective. Maybe that's perspective that is only applicable to me, and maybe it's not helpful for me to say that, because I know that there's people out there, many of you, who maybe are in still the same position of being red on the year, and you're like, well, that's nice, Ross. You can say you made $5 million last year. You can say hey, I lost $250,000, $275,000 trading like an idiot, but I'm still up 500 grand on the year. Life is good. I can't say that. I'm red on the year. And I can understand that frustration. I would remind you of a couple things. Number one, if you don't have any consistent profitability behind you, then you really shouldn't be trading with real money. And I say that because once you have some consistent profitability in a simulator, and then you switch to real money and you have some losses, that's when you're able to say, listen, I am the same person that had these 6 weeks of profitability in the simulator. I can do this. And that gives you that ability to pep talk yourself. So trading in a simulator, improving some profitability in a sim before going live is important. For me right now, you could say, Ross, maybe you should go back to trading in a simulator, for a week or whatever, just kind of clear the slate. And yeah, that might not, I don't know. I could do that. I struggled to do that. I think that there'd be a lot of criticism to me doing that. Ever trading a simulator, I think people would just say, listen, what is this guy doing trading a simulator? He doesn't believe enough in his strategy. So I don't think I would do that at this point, but I don't mind. I think what I have to do and what I ultimately need and what I was trying to do this week after that big red day on Monday, I was trying to just see if I could just have just wipe the slate. And I did. I was 2 green days. I was a 3rd green day in. I had a great start to the morning. I was up 27,000, and all I needed to do was just lock it up. And what I did today was I tried to roll the 27,000 into the next big trade and gave it back and was break even. And then immediately the emotion kicked in and I jumped into the next thing I saw squeezing. And that's the thing about me that is so disappointing. And that's where I'm like, man, you can't, why did you do that? So while on the one hand, I could really beat myself up for that habit of jumping in aggressively and quickly, on the other hand, who I am is a collection of all of those parts of my personality. The success that I have right now, the profits that I have on the year, they were the result of all of those behaviors. That aggressiveness, that willingness to be stupid aggressive perhaps on a stock like GameStop. I mean, I had $2 million positions on this last week. And you know what? It paid off. I'm net profitable as the result of this. I think the challenge for me is just the question of the emotional swings that come with the P&L swings. And I suppose the hope that maybe someday I could trade without, it would be so much nicer and less stressful for me just to make 5,000 a day and not have days where I make 500 and then a day where I lose 270. I mean, why can't it just be steady? But the market's never going to be like that. Some days are hot, and if you stop at 5, you're leaving so much on the table, and some days are cold, and you'd struggle to even make 5. I could say, oh, I've made enough money. I'm just going to go down to starting to trade with. I'll just trade with 2,000 shares on everything. So if I make money, I make money. If I lose money, I lose money. At this point, I've made enough trading that I could just kind of just trade for the entertainment. Okay, but then what if with just those 2,000 shares, whatever, small size, I still managed to have a red month or a big red day? Am I not then going to just feel equally frustrated as I do now? It's just the feeling of loss. The numbers, I don't know how much they really change it, to be honest. I don't know. Anyways, this has been a terrible, last month was the worst start to a month I've ever had, and now I've one-upped myself here. I've given myself a huge project for the entire rest of February. And it might take me 6 weeks. It might literally take me 6 weeks or longer to get back to flat after today. Certainly if we do continue to see some of the volatility that we've seen, I don't know. I mean, who knows? But assuming that it's going to take me probably to the end of mid-March or end of March to make it back, at this point, I'm going to have no choice but to just buckle down. And this is where, in contrast to a game where my only hope right now for closing February flat is to hit, is to get 4 Hail Mary passes and then a 75-yard field goal. That's the only chance. So given the fact that this game really doesn't end at the end of the month, it's a marathon. There's really no purpose in taking the risk of those Hail Mary passes in hopes of maybe getting lucky, because the downside is that I start to really snowball. And then, let's say tomorrow I lose 40 grand and I'm like, well, 40, it's not nearly as bad as 275, but 40 is a huge red day. Then a Monday I lose 50, then 75. And the next thing you know, that's when things are getting really bad. So when you have let's just use an analogy here. My trading is the Titanic, and it's been a great run, but I just hit an iceberg, and we've got water coming in. A ton of water just came in today, and now I have an opportunity. I can either wrench the throttle, full throttle, and just keep plowing forward and probably keep taking on water. or I can stop the bleeding, stop the new water coming on. I got to stop the new water coming on, and that's by stopping trading right now, today, and being done for the day. Tomorrow, I'll start the bailing out. It's going to be one small bucket at a time. The only way to get all this water out of the ship is one small bucket at a time. That's small winner. And it feels, as you pick up one scoop, like, is it even worth it? But it's your goddamn life that's on the line. So it's worth it. So I'll be back on... I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to trade tomorrow. I regret trading today on my birthday. I would say perhaps, though, that it's not a coincidence that the biggest red day I've ever had was on my birthday. The second biggest red day I'd ever had prior to last year was on the anniversary of the day my dad died. These are days that the emotional stakes for being green feel higher. And even after doing this for 10 years, I underestimate how powerful and how much stronger those emotions can be than my own ability to be cool, calm, and collected. It's really incredible. And there may be a point in my career where, for a variety of reasons, things happening at home or, things happening in the market, where I would have to actually step back and say, you know what? I've made some good money. It's time for me to step back because I'm just getting into an emotional spiral. Uncle Steve and I were talking about his grandfather, my great-grandfather, who I never met, but he was working on the floor of the exchange when the market crashed on Black Tuesday in 1929. And, that changed him permanently for the rest of his life. He was not the same after that. He was 34 years old. He was born in 1895, I guess. But in any case, it changed him, and he was never the same. And unfortunately, a catastrophic loss or a series of catastrophic losses can inflict some real emotional damage. So, like I said, there's people who have been through far, far worse and have managed to recover. So part of it is your ability to have perspective and to view these in the lens of being grateful. And maybe in the 1920s and 30s, it wasn't so much, in those days, people weren't doing a lot of YouTubing, and no one ever says that, but I'll say it. They weren't YouTubing. They weren't blogging. Not enough, not nearly enough. And they didn't talk about their emotions as much. And I never met him, so I don't know for sure. But given the culture of, that era, that might also explain why some experiences that maybe were so painful for certain people really stuck with them for so long. So, I think that it's worth noting that just because you may have a time in your life where you're like, man, my trading is just so off. It was so good and now it's so off. What has happened? And it may not be a strategy issue. It may be more of an emotional issue. It may be a life circumstance issue. And it may be something that you have to scale back a little bit until you get through that. And then once you get to the other side, you can, you can get aggressive again. I've even had that, at various times where just other things were so in the focus that trading was more difficult. So, yeah, I sit here still with denial and disappointment about what happened today, but this is an opportunity for me to show you how to carve a path back from a big loss to all-time highs. And I don't really have any doubt that that's going to happen to me. It's not a matter of if I get back to being up, 800,000 on the year. It's just a matter of how long it takes. And it's a matter of how well I recover and if I do it with composure or I do it by swinging for the fences. I have no doubt that there's people out there that have been down 274,000 on the day and kept trading. And you know what? Maybe sometimes that works. Maybe they got into something like ANVX or ANXL and or AVXL, whatever it is, and flipped short. Oh, you know what? I'm long CPSH and I'm losing. I'm going to go ahead and short 50,000 shares. I'll make this back real quick. And you know what? If I had done that, well, I guess I'd be up 200 grand. But that's not really the right move. So I think, unfortunately, if you make back your profits doing that, it only encourages those spirals that get larger and larger and larger. And it's even true with me to a certain extent of that quick revenge trade, and then the losses all of a sudden snowballed. But I do at least have enough common sense not to criticize someone who would keep trading, because if that works for them, it works for them. But for me, I have enough common sense to know that I am way too emotionally fueled. And listen, if I take a trade right now and make back 5,000, who cares? I'll still be down 269 grand. So unfortunately, the loss puts even decent base hits into a perspective of it's not worth it. So this is where I sit today. This is a unusual day for me, disappointing day. Will be a birthday that I'll remember. So can't wait for this year to be over. But no, it's fine. I'll be all right. I'm gonna be fine, and you know, it's really, life is good. If I stop trading right now today at February 4th with 500,000, I'd be up more than I made in all of 2016 and 2017 combined. To make 2 years of profits in 6 weeks, even after that loss. I made in 2018, was it 2019? 500,000? Yeah, 500,000 in 2018. So, you know, to make all of that in a month and 3 days is fantastic. It's fine. The most important thing is that I don't continue to snowball, and then I'm sitting here saying, well, I'm still up 200, still up 100, because then that's not okay. I need to, regardless of the number, I need to stop the bleeding and begin that path back forward. So that'll start probably tomorrow. I'm gonna have to add some restrictions on my account, only because the emotional impulse is gonna be so high. And I may not wanna trade tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. It may make more sense for me just to wait till Monday and just take 3 days to just like get some space between me and this, and then come back Monday recharged. That's probably the better move. That's probably what I'll do. Just because realistically, again, tomorrow, you know, if I come in even on my first trade and I go red, I'm gonna immediately come right back to this emotion that I feel right now. So I need a little bit of space, which is why I'm so grateful that the market's not open 24 hours a day, because if I was trading Bitcoin, I could just go and go and go and go and go. So at least the market closes and I have to stop. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in. This is a tough kind of recap to make. It would certainly be easier just to shut everything down, walk away, and not talk about the loss. But I don't think that really would help me that much, because then I would still be thinking about it. And so I think that this is actually really good for me, as maybe even more than it is for you. So thank you for letting me do this, and I will see you guys back in the chat room, whether it's tomorrow or Monday, I'm not sure, but I'll see you guys back there, and we'll bounce back. And I know a lot of you guys probably ended up finishing the day in much better shape than me, even possibly trading the same exact stocks, because you didn't mismanage your risk the way I did. It's crazy how, you know, two traders sitting side by side trading the same stocks can have such different P&Ls, but you know, that's the way it is. So anyways, that's it for me. This is definitely a reminder of the risk of trading. So in case I didn't already say it, I'll put up my disclaimer right here. Day trading is risky. Most beginner traders lose money, and losses can happen like that. A momentary lapse in judgment can be catastrophic. So the best thing you can do is manage your risk and make sure you put some hard limits on your account. And I have them on my account, but they accommodate a bigger range because of the way I trade. So it's okay. It's the way it goes. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you guys tomorrow or on Monday.
And that right there was an entire video with no ads. I don't monetize my YouTube channel with video ads, which means you guys get to enjoy the content. But do me a favor, please hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up and let YouTube know that this channel is the channel to watch if you want to learn about day trading.